Alright, on this video I'm going to go over the things I've learned taking my Runaway on a 3,000 mile plus trip across the country. Went from Kentucky to Big Bend National Park, Texas, and I've learned some things on this trip, and we'll go over those things now. All in all, the trip went really well. I actually got to travel a little faster than I felt pretty comfortable going 70-75 mile an hour with this, towing it behind my ridge line. It did really well. I hardly even knew it was back there. A few times I had to look back to make sure it was still there, but it did really well. I've got the tires on mine, you'll see here. I'm not sure if these are the ones that come from the factory, but these are some tires that I went with, and didn't seem to have any problems with them. I made sure the air pressure was good before we left, and it traveled really well at a high speed. Yeah, it bounces around a lot back there, but it did pretty well. And I'll show you some of the things that I noticed on the inside that I'll have to repair in the future. So looking inside, let's see, you'll see over here on this far side I've got some hangers that I hung up over here, and I put one little 1/2 inch screw in, and that's held up on the wall, but I had one in my door, so I'm gonna have to come up with some other way, because I was actually hanging my clothes up there in the middle of the night. It came crashing down, so I'm gonna have to find a better way to hang that. As far as all my new work I did inside the camper, it all held up really well. Nothing came loose. All my stuff stayed within the bins. Everything attached to the wall really well. No problems at all with that. In the future, I am going to make a little swing out. One of these arms I'm going to swing out on my bed. That way I can put this 8x8 canopy. I can slide it up underneath there without having. I had to set it out here, and it kind of took some of my floor space up. So that was just something that I learned, that I need to find some way to store that away. Now, as far as my solar worked out really well. You saw the video where I made this bracket for it, and like I say, that's an actual portable solar, and I've got a setup where I just had to hook it. I put it on here, and I took one of these screws and I threaded it on, that way the wind wouldn't blow it off there. It just secured it a little bit, and hopefully that prevented anybody from stealing it. And my solar did really well. I'll show you some of the outputs here. Like I say, it charged up. My battery would go down about 5%, just a little bit of work I was using it. And by plugging in that solar into here and using that solar panel, it was up within, once the sun came up, probably 2 hours, it was up to full speed and 100% capability. And like I said, I didn't really stretch that really hard. I used my jockery for my CPAP, so that really wasn't an issue. As far as the way everything else came out, I mean, it drove really well. I did notice that I did have an issue with this piece on the tongue, the jack here. If I jack it all the way in, turn it all the way in, over a lot of miles, it gradually worked down, and it was getting kind of low to the ground at one point. So in the future, I take a trip this long, I'm going to have to put basically a bungee from here down to here, and just keep that from spinning. With it just freewheeling, it was spinning and actually cranking down. So that's something I noticed, and I think that's not a problem. It worked out pretty well. Now, as far as my awning, this is the first time I got to use my awning. This awning here, it is a lot easier. I had two of us doing it, and it's a lot easier if there's two of you putting it together. It was relatively easy. It'd be hard to put up in the wind. One person is kind of tough to get it in there and get it locked in, but like I say, it can be done. It just, you have to take your time with it. But with two people, it was pretty easy. We had it up with probably less than 5 minutes. We had the entire thing up, down, and staked down in four sides. So you'll see a picture here of the way I had it staked out. It worked out pretty good. So we're real happy with the way that worked out. So I'll probably be using that a lot more in the future. Now, if you saw my video where I put the new license plate on, that worked out a lot better. We put this on here, and like I say, it worked out really well. This light that's LED that's in here was really bright. You could actually see it when we were driving at night. You could see it hitting the ground. Light seemed to work out really well, and real pleased with the way that worked out. So that worked out good. Another thing we had was the fan that we had here. We actually did not use the fan at all. We could have used it, but we had a nice breeze the whole time we were up there. Left the windows open, and that kind of kept moisture out of there. We didn't actually need to use the fan, so that worked out really well for us. Basically, it worked out exactly the way I had hoped it would work out. Really happy. We traveled really well. It was comfortable when we were camping. There's a few little tweaks that I showed you what needed to take care of, but other than that, it's been quite an experience to use this vehicle, so I'm really happy with it. And that's about all I have for this video. And if you've had anything come up on you on a large trip, go ahead and put that in the comments, and let me know what you did about that. But for my trip, everything worked out really well. So we'll see you again on another one of these RV shorts.